control over the carrier, but your carrier can be still part, because the carrier still have to decide how to handle secure medical information. The away hospitals have to be all part of the network, same level of quality, and they must have the systems, interoperable systems, where I can download both images and text. Does that make sense to you folks? This is called Medtronic's CareLink. It exists. It's not global yet, but certainly in the United States, becoming global is only a matter of time. Same thing today in a car. You can look at a car as a node in a global network. This is called OnStar in General Motors. 4 million cars every year have OnStar. OnStar will know what is happening to your car, to your engine performance, your transmission, and so on. They will know it before you do. They can call you and say, CK, take your car to the dealer. We have already called the dealer and told him this is the problem with your car. They will be able to fix it as soon as you come. That make sense? So discontinuities challenge the traditional view. If you look at the traditional view of firm-centric view of value creation, convergence of technologies, industry boundaries, and connectivity is challenging these views. I'll give you a picture and tell me which industry this is. Huh? Yeah, but Pixar cannot do everything. Huh? ICT is not one industry, it's a couple of $1 trillion worldwide. Now, I know some people are from KPN. And what, you recognize this picture? What is it? All kinds of stuff. Do we have a word to describe what this is? Huh? Convergence is not an industry, it's a phenomenon. Yeah, but there's also computing, there's productivity, there's all kinds of things. Huh? Yeah, but multimedia, yes, but it doesn't have to be multimedia. The point is, none of us know how to describe this. 10 years ago, when you said this is a TV, everybody knew it was a TV. Then you look at something else and say this is a telephone. We knew it was a telephone. This was a laptop. But now everything is coming together. If you have plasma TV, is it a computer or a TV? It all depends on how you use it. So I can look at this and say, is it a phone? Yes. Is it a camera? Yes. Is it a watch? Yes. Is it a computer? Yes. Is it a TV? Yes. What is it? Huh? In other words, we behave as if... It's a toy. That's what I like. It's a toy that all of us love, because how many of you thought 5 years ago somebody has to start the meeting by saying, put away your cell phones? Now it's standard practice. You go to Asia is a perfectly interesting place to go. If you're not talking while you're eating in the restaurant, that means you're not important. Constantly people are talking. And the US is even more interesting. As you're getting out of your garage in the car, people are already on the cell phone. I said, you just left home. Only 2 minutes. What I wanted to think about is maybe more than a toy. But the point I want to make is industry boundaries are changing. Now you can say, yeah, that's only in digital technology. It's happening everywhere. It's in computing, communications, software, chemical and electronic imaging. That's Kodak. Mechanical and electronics, which is the car, personal care products, and pharmaceuticals. How many of you think anti-aging creams, which none of us need here, is really a fashion product? And how many of you think it's a pharmaceutical product? How many of you think Activia from Danone is a pharmaceutical product and some of it is just food, plain old yogurt? A lot of people think it's just plain old yogurt. Some people think it's not. So retailing, financial services, this is happening all across, and therefore it raises some interesting questions. The old distinctions about hardware and software. Do you remember still people say it's a hardware business or software business? What is it? What is a phone today? Cell phone, either hardware or software. That means that old idea of separating hardware and software makes absolutely no sense. Same thing with manufacturing and service. McDonald's, I know it's not popular in Europe, fast food. Is it a service or manufacturing? Huh? How many of you believe that we fully making hamburgers is very straightforward, is it not? Why is there not 500 people competing with McDonald's? It's so simple, right? In other words, is there a underlying manufacturing and logistics process? How do you get consistent French fries worldwide? That's a very interesting question. So same thing with business model innovations. Is iPod a product innovation or a business innovation? What do you think? Could Sony have made iPod better, cheaper, faster? So focus on one individual, come to that. Global supply chains, importance of global markets. So if you think about all this, one thing is common. All of them are creating knowledge intensity. Hardware or software is not the best way to think. What is the level of knowledge intensity of the business is an interesting way to think. What is the experience intensity of the business is an interesting way to think. And certainly, how do you get one at a time with global resources is an interesting way to think. So what you find, the competitiveness imperatives are changing from global integration and local responsiveness. I find it fascinating. In 1987, I wrote a book called Global Integration and Local Responsiveness as the mission of the multinational company. And I forgot about that book. Then you get variations, global thinking, local acting. I said, sorry, sometimes you have to think local too. So finally, then we went to glocal. Glocal is what? Global and local. I said, why don't you just say global and local? The important thing is we have to think and act globally sometimes. We have to think and act locally at times. Corporate values, human rights, things of that kind, integrity, are global. You have to think and act globally. On the other hand, whether you can serve hamburgers in India, beef, is a very interesting question. You may want to have vegetable burgers, which has the texture of a hamburger. That's what McDonald's has done. It's called veggie burgers. That's local. In other words, you have to be locally responsive and globally at the same time. Focus on collaboration, distributed product development efforts, and so on, which may be different set of questions. So this is happening all across, folks. Good companies, bad companies, large companies, small companies. I'm going to start with Google just because everybody knows it. It's an easy one to start with. And I've said this 3 times today. Google customizes for every person. It's one person at a time. Is it not? You can make your own page. You can access what you want. It does not control the resources. All the content for Google comes from outside. So what's the one thing that's clear in Google? I can have 100 million consumers, but I worry about one consumer experience at a time, advertising to one consumer at a time, but resources are multi-institutional and therefore may be global. Does it make sense? So Google is very interesting. Anybody heard of a company called Li & Fung? Yeah? Yeah. They're a $10 billion company. They don't control any factories. They influence 9,000 factories all across Southeast Asia. So if I sell shirts in JCPenney in Austin, Texas, that information from the point of sale goes to Li & Fung, 6 shirts, blue, color size 14, style X. They go and figure out which factories are involved in making those shirts. Next day, you may get the same, but 10 shirts. The factories that they may activate may be very different. That means it is not a predetermined